Hello, I'm Sharon Williams and I manage the Centre for Victorian Data Linkage in Victoria, Australia. Welcome to our video presentation where we'll be talking about applying linked data to government policy reform and service design. I'll begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we're meeting and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. So first, a bit of information about Victoria, particularly for people who are viewing from overseas. Victoria is the second most populous state of Australia, with a total population of around 6.5 million, of whom about 5 million live in the Greater Melbourne area. Over recent years, Melbourne has been the fastest growing Australian capital city, and prior to COVID was expected to overtake Sydney as the largest Australian city in the late 2020s. Melbourne's population growth has been driven by migration, with over 28% of Victorians born overseas across a diverse range of 200 different countries. The Centre for Victorian Data Linkage is the Victorian linkage agency of the Population Health Research Network. We're located in the Victorian Government Department of Health and Human Services, and we provide linkage services to both researchers and to government. We were established in 2009, and in 2016 we developed the first version of our enduring linked data resource, the Victorian Linkage Map and Integrated Data Resource. The 2016 version comprised of 20 plus health and human services data sets linked with births and deaths data. We've since expanded the Victorian Linkage Map to include additional Victorian government data sets across areas such as justice, police and education. What we don't currently have in the Victorian Linkage Map are data sets from the Commonwealth, so particularly across primary health and pensions and benefits. When we initially wrote the abstract for this presentation way back in February 2020, COVID-19 was in its very early phases, but has since, obviously over the past few months, dominated our lives and has also dominated the work of CBDL. So the examples that we'll be giving in this presentation are examples of the work that CBDL has done to support the Victorian response to COVID. There's you'll see a chart there which basically visualises what the COVID pandemic has been like in Victoria. So you see there two waves, a relatively small wave in the March to April time period where there was a peak of new daily cases of around 110 cases, which after a lockdown dropped down to very low case numbers, some days zero, and then a very challenging second wave which peaked in early August with case numbers of around 700 daily new cases. Those cases have obviously decreased since, and that's been due to a tight lockdown, limitations on movement and mandatory face masks among other things. And now at the time of filming we're down to single cases again. So now I'll pass on to my colleagues to talk about some of the projects that we've have done over the last few months for the COVID-19 response.
Hello, my name is Mark Sipthorpe. I'm the Technical Manager within the Centre for Victorian Data Linkage. CVDL has worked with the Health Protection Branch for several years. This work has improved and enhanced the work undertaken by the Health Protection team. In more recent times, since 2019, hospital and death data has been linked to notifiable diseases to support research on outcomes of people with these diseases, to better understand the disease and to improve the services and supports provided to this cohort. The linkage also enables gaps to be filled that may not be possible through manual follow-up. To assist with the rapid COVID-19 effort, the department sped up the data acquisition process to enable daily linkage between hospital, notifiable diseases and death. This had never been done before. Data was acquired quicker than it had ever been done before, and a significant shift in the automation effort to acquire this data. An enduring linkage spine was created to enable the linkage to occur at this speed. Creating a linkage spine has always been within the scope of research and development work that CVDL had wanted to undertake. However, high quality population data mostly resides within the Commonwealth domain. This is something that's being pursued and I believe will be of great benefit to both the government and research community. The Victorian spine that was created for the COVID-19 response utilised data within Victorian departments. Driver's licence, electoral roll data and birth data were all used to develop a trial population spine. The reason most of us work in the linked data space is to use this enormous resource for the public benefit. The data asset that has been created out of the daily linkage is used to support the COVID-19 response. The data asset enriches data from disparate systems, fills gaps in incomplete and missing data, and provides a richer view and evidence on which to base decisions. The data asset will allow researchers and policymakers to view the pathways of different cohorts. That is, a cohort that has tested positive to COVID-19 compared to a cohort that hasn't. This research will allow for better planning and ensures that services and supports can be targeted to provide the best possible outcome. This data asset will also be important in the restoration effort and to learning much more about COVID-19 than we currently do.
Hi everyone, my name is Phillip Futowski and I'm the Linkage Manager from the Centre for Victorian Data Linkage, and I'd like to just talk to you today about two interesting projects we've recently undertaken in relation to COVID. The first of these is the contact tracing program. So when someone tests positive for COVID in Victoria, what we try and do, generally speaking, is contact all the people that they've been in contact with, so we can ask those people to self-isolate and therefore not infect other people, and also just to get generally tested so we can confirm whether they are sick with COVID or not. But we found that for a small section of people, we're actually unable to find out how to contact them. And so we undertook, through our various data linkage capabilities, to reattach names and addresses and email addresses, if possible, to those people. And we found that roughly about 50% of cases we could actually reattach that information as we had their names and birth dates. And so that's a really positive result when previously we were just unable to contact them whatsoever. And the other application is what we call the welfare checks program. So we thought, with the restrictions as they are, that certain groups were quite vulnerable and they might be unable to contact their local doctors and that sort of thing for medical help or other resources. And these are people we identified as seniors, as people on disability payments, or people who are single parents, and also some certain subgroups within that population. So we were able to create some sort of measures on whether these people are likely to have internet access and that sort of thing, because obviously without internet you're unable to contact your doctor digitally, which is sort of a method that we use here at the moment in Victoria. And so we created this linkage project to identify these people, link them up through the various data sets, and so far it's been quite successful. We've been able to send people over to door knock on those people's addresses and just make sure that they get the appropriate resources that they need. In terms of future projects to support the COVID restoration in Victoria, we're looking at doing more frequent data linkage. So looking at high-profile data sets such as child protection, family violence, alcohol and drug use, that sort of thing. And we're trying to link these data sets together on a weekly basis so we can see how people are utilizing these services once we start reopening everything up and people are able to reuse all this sort of thing. We're also looking at utilizing Commonwealth data sets, so looking at linking in national Australian data such as what we have Medicare data sets, that sort of thing. And that'll just help our overall analysis and make sure that linkage is more accurate overall. That's about it from me, so thank you for your time.